Well, let's carry on. And the next request was AECI. And I must be honest with you, I like this chart. This chart is now typical of a share that's been sold off again, all the way down from 121, all the way down to 80 Rand. And what do we see? First of all, the most important thing is we see a change in trend. That was the trend line that told us that everything is to the downside and every little rally was sold. Suddenly, it moved above this line, so that means it's starting to show a trend change. But what I like the most of it is, can you see that we're consolidating above this little high? And there you are. That little high was developed on 19 September. It moved below that and suddenly it's making higher lows. There's a low, higher low, higher low, higher lows, all the way. There's a higher high. And while it's above, let's call it that 90 Rand level, the share is actually promising to me. And the reason why I'm saying that is it looks like there's definitely a trend change on the boil. But for me, to play safe, I will say, but if that is a trend change, it must stay above that line. And I want to use that line as my guideline. And there you are. While it is moving above this support line, there you are, that support line, I am bullish on the stock. The moment it starts to go below that, you'll probably see a correction, maybe a sell-off to the downside a little bit again, or you can see that it tested and bounce off that again. So if you do want to buy it, first of all, watch this little line there and say to yourself, it must stay above that line. That was at 90 Rand. And it must stay above that 88 Rand 77. So I will, if you want to buy it as close as possible to 90 Rand, but watch that line for your stop loss. My stop loss will be at 87.47. And where's my targets to the top? It can easily go to, there you are. I just want to get that level, 93.44, 97, 98, 98.46, 100 Rand, of course, and then 101 Rand. So that is the bottom line. It looks nice. There's a trend line. There's a nice rounding bottom here. And while we're above 90 Rand on AECI, the chart is looking promising to me. I got a very interesting email from somebody that said, thank you, Frans. I did buy ABSA a while back. I was watching the show and I made some good money. But I am a trader. And because I'm a trader, I think I must lock in some profit now. So then the moment I hear the word trader, I always go to the candlestick chart and then just have a look what the candlestick chart is telling me. Well, I mean, since the beginning of October, can you believe it? It rallied from 172, that's ABSA by the way, 172.86 on a daily chart, all the way right through, and it tested 205 Rand just the other day. So what is the crucial thing here? If you did buy, let's say you bought at 180 and the share is now trading at 200 Rand. And if you are a trader and you're happy with your 6 or 7% and you are happy with it, just lock it in. You don't need to wait for confirmation. But on the other hand, if you want to wait for confirmation, this is the little candle that is surprising to me, because that is telling me it can maybe be a hanging man or a warning candle telling me that the share has maybe rallied way too much. But where's the crucial point here? If that is a tiny little hanging man, I always like to use the low of that hanging man. And where's the low of that? The low is sitting at 196.98. Below 196.98, the share can maybe surprise us to the downside. And I mean, after such a wonderful rally, it can easily give us a pullback. And if it does go below that, I will say that it can easily go to 191.84, 186.90, and even as low as 178.79. But above, of course, 204.69. Momentum to the top and resume. And what is interesting here? Interesting here is if the banking stocks are starting to show some oomph, you can say, then maybe the economy is maybe not in such a bad spot than everybody of us tend to believe. I tweeted the other day about this massive window, and I mean, some guys commented and say, Frans, it's maybe just a value unlock, and maybe the company will be bought out by somebody, or the company will be delisted and they will pay the investor something out. For me as a technical analyst, I don't know all those things. I just say, and this is what I wanted to show you, there was the start of the gap. That gap started at 62 cents. It's now trading at 66 cents. And where does this gap close? Right at the top. There you are at 195. So I don't say this company will be on the market in a year or 2 years. Maybe the big boys will buy them out and it is a value unlock. But while we're in this gap, I think we can go higher. And while this gap is above between 66 at the moment and 195, if you have the share, well, stick to it. So just to show that we may be working on this massive gap. And I will not repeat what I've said the other day of some of the biggest shares that close their gaps. I mean, I did mention it before, but maybe, but just maybe, this share in one day we can show on the show and say, listen, the share, can you believe it did close this gap all the way from 62 all the way up to 195. Let us look at Berkshire Hathaway. I mean, this is the giant of the stocks, blue chip. And I mean, this is one of those wonderful stocks that everybody wants to have in their portfolio. But I'm always a little bit nervous, and I want to quickly go and have a look at the weekly chart. I'm always nervous if everybody say you must have this stock in your portfolio. Meta was one of those stocks. Everybody loved that stock, and they just wanted to buy it. And Berkshire Hathaway, I mean, Mr. Buffett is the best investor in the world, or value investor in the world. And maybe I must send him this chart, but I believe he will not even look at it because he's a fundamentalist. And he is just keen on the market when there's value. What I don't like about it, I mean, this is Berkshire Hathaway, and the chart is showing me an ugly head and shoulder formation. And this makes me a little bit nervous because I can remember a day when we had Berkshire Hathaway, Sasol showing us an ugly head and shoulder formation, and I was just too scared to show it to the viewers because I was wondering, can it play out? Well, the same thing with Berkshire Hathaway here. This is the left shoulder. There's the ugly head. Okay, and we were maybe working on the right shoulder now. We're on a very important point. There's the top of that right shoulder. If the share managed to go above $454,266, $454,000, can you believe that? If it can get above that, this right shoulder will be wiped off the table, and the warning also will probably fade away. If I look at this, this is the neckline. The neckline sits at 402,986. If that neckline on a weekly chart, because this is a weekly chart, turn into a resistance and the momentum starts to come down, look at my targets. And I really hope that I am completely wrong, or maybe not I am, but the charts are wrong because I only analyze the charts. Look at this. If this neckline breaks, the first target will be 362,566. On the other hand, if it plays out in full, look what is this target. I mean, this is the target to the downside. I just want to draw in that line. There you are. And if I take that to the downside, can you believe it? Or is it maybe true that a share like, let's just get that line there, like Berkshire Hathaway can go to a price of $291,000. That's about a 30% drop from here. So I just want to say to investors, unless that head and shoulder formation, the right top of this shoulder, doesn't get wiped off the table, I will be very nervous to buy this wonderful giant stock, because it can maybe surprise you to the downside and maybe surprise the world, because nobody believes that this share can actually go down. Somebody asked about Goldfields Limited, the one that's listed on the New York Stock Exchange. And the reason being why we get some requests nowadays for overseas counters more and more is because a lot of our investors locally are starting to move some of their investments into overseas shares. So What do I see? I mean, this is Goldfields Limited. And remember, this one is not the South African one. This is the New York Stock Exchange listed product. So if you look at it, first of all, I mean a massive selling from all the way from $17 to $7. I mean, that's a huge sell-off. But for me, I will say before I warn you, it must get above this level of $8.67. Above $8.67, we can maybe see a beautiful relief bounce out of this waterfall formation. My stop loss will be $7.58. But on the other hand, this share is working on a very important support line. Look what I see here. This share is telling me that it struggles to stay above this $10. Every time that it gets to this $10 level, it's being sold off. What do I also see? I see a left shoulder, and I hope I'm wrong. I see a top of the head. Look at that head. And I see a right shoulder developing. And I mean, if this chart plays out, there's just no doubt to it, this share can actually go to zero. For me, that's impossible because they've got assets. But I do want to warn you, if it doesn't break above this beautiful line and it gives us this nice relief bounce, that's what I'm talking about. If the share starts to go, I just want to draw in that line, correct, sorry guys. If the share starts to go below $7, this chart can really become very ugly, and it can maybe go all the way to that low there, $3.90, the previous low that we've seen in 2020. Well, thank you for watching the show. Thank you for visiting our website, and thank you for BDTV showing these shows. Visit our website www.fransklerk.com for more info, and we will chat again.